My name is Josh Miller. I own Riverstone Kennels, and I've been training gun dogs for more than 16 years. I have field trialed, I've hunt tested, but at the end of the day, I'm a duck hunter. You might find that the duck in our Duck Dogs podcast is spelled uniquely. The UK stands for my British Labs. I love my British Labs. I love what they offer me, both as a part of my family and the high motor in the field. As you're going to find, I have some pretty special dogs. Follow along in our podcast series here as we talk about both in the field hunting and in the field training situations that will hopefully help you progress with your dog at home.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Big thank you to DUK Premium Performance Sport 3020. That's the feed that I'm feeding my dogs. We've got a lot of questions recently on 2616. Is it okay to back off that 3020? Each dog is different. Find what works for you. They're great, very premium quality food. So go check them out. DUK, again, Premium Performance Sport 3020 or 2616. Thank you to Sitka Gear. I have been living in my Sitka gear for probably the last month, and I probably will for the next few months. High quality, worth every penny. Go check them out. www.sitkagear.com. Also, thank you to Gun Dog Supply. I'm actually going to be next week with one of the owners of Gun Dog Supply out in North Dakota as we kind of kick off our duck and waterfowl season. And they're just great people. One-stop shop for all of your training and hunting needs. Go check them out. Gundogsupply.com. And Lucky Duck, I'm actually drinking out of my Lucky Duck Yeti Rambler here this morning as I'm trying to wake up. I'm doing this very early this morning. And Lucky Duck, I actually have the owner coming out to pick up his dog today as he heads out west and starts his waterfowl season. So again, good company with good people. Go check them out. www.luckyduck.com. So like I said, I'm up very early this morning trying to get an episode done here, and I feel like I've said this for a long time this year, but we're just crazy busy at the kennel. We currently have 3 litters on the ground, totaling 23 puppies. We have a full kennel of dogs, but all these dogs, because it's coming into season, all these dogs are going home, which is great. It means a lot of time with the owners, teaching them how to handle their dogs, which is always the biggest. I'm going to call it the biggest hurdle, because it is the biggest hurdle of our job as we train is training the people. It's not the dog, it's the people. And what I mean by that is, not that people are resistant to learning, but sometimes, our human attributes and our human tendencies, sometimes those are, it's hard to break, certain things. And so, as we go through and we teach the people, you can just see it, and oftentimes this is really interesting. You might find this interesting. What I started doing, I started doing this years ago. So I really started getting into video work out of necessity. And what I mean by that is we have so many people that are sending dogs in from very long distances. Just in the kennel right now, we have dogs from Texas, California, Colorado, Montana, a couple from Montana. We have Georgia, we have British Columbia, we have, I'm sure there's states I'm missing, a lot of very long distances. And so naturally, those people can't be as actively involved in the training process. And so for me to teach, I would be sending videos. So start doing a lot of, videoing, me handling dogs. And then, I, for whatever reason, one day was like, why don't I video you handling your dogs so you have something to take home and you can kind of watch and review it. And it was crazy to me what I learned from that video, which was when someone comes in, especially a new handler, again, they're picking up their dog that has been trained. So now they're trying to step in and, drive the car, if you will. They would tense up and they would get nervous and they would overthink, and like commands that should be so basic, they're questioning, like, it's, you say sit for them to sit down, right? I mean, just, and I know it's kind of funny, but it's true. I mean, people would overthink. And so what I started doing is when people come in and I'm training them how to handle, they will handle a different dog that is not theirs. And what that has allowed me to do is has allowed me to focus on the person. I know what the dogs can do. I've been working with the dogs for months. I know what they can do. What I don't know is what the owners can do as a handler. And so when I took that emotional connection away, it was incredible the difference. People were looser. They got the muscle memory down themselves. They started to understand, okay, so here's what I'm saying, here's what I'm looking for, here's what I'm reading. And yes, it's a different dog, but the same rules apply. And then after they have the muscle memory down, so what I like to do is if I can get somebody for 2, 3, 4 days, I do the first couple days. Usually they don't ever even get to handle their dog until the last day. Let's work on you. Let's train you. Let's get your muscle memory down. Let's get you comfortable. Then when you're comfortable, now we're going to go be successful, right? Because now you know what you're doing. I know your dog knows what you're doing. Now let's tie this whole thing together. And it's been so successful, and it's been really fun. These last couple of days, I've had a number of clients in, and it could be something as simple as obedience. It could be something as advanced as handling on blind retrieves, but it's still the same. It's the people that dictate the success of what a dog is going to be. It's no different than when you head into the field, or when you head into the field, the success of that day likely has a lot to do with your handling, the situation you are putting your dog in, the retrieves you send your dog on, right? Like, we have a lot of dogs that go home, from advanced handling, and, they're great. They're awesome. I can show you doing, 200-300 yard blinds. They're fantastic. They're under control. But I always tell people the same thing. When you go on that first hunt, don't try to show off and send them on this big bomber for the first one. Build the confidence in this dog. Even though they're doing it in a controlled setup, it's not the real thing. There's not all the added distractions. There's not everything else that encompasses a hunt. Pick out that one that he didn't see that's on the outside of the decoy spread, right? Yeah, it's 50 yards. Yeah, it's basic, but go build that confidence because he's going to be successful with it. Hey, praise him, throw a party. This was awesome. That was your first blind. Hoorah! Now let's progressively get more advanced. Anytime you're going to go out and try to show off, what your dog can do, it never works out. It's crazy how many times we go to hunts, and I get this a lot just because a lot of times I'm the dog guy in the group. When somebody else has their dog and they spend most of the morning or the night before bragging about their dog, I could put dollars to donuts. It is going to be a train wreck. I mean, it's unbelievable how often that happens. But then you have somebody that tends to kind of just be quiet about their dog and say he's pretty good. Yeah, I enjoy him. We work a lot together. Just little things like that. Don't brag the dog up. More times than not, that's the dog that you're going to go say, that's a nice dog. Like I'm impressed by that dog. But again, it's just put your dog in these successful situations, especially as you're going into the season. No matter what, especially a young dog, if they have not had the exposure, we need to do our job to make that right. So what I'm going to do today is I kind of kicked around a number of different things to talk about as we head into next week. Hopefully I'll have something really cool to talk about because I'll be heading on Monday. I will be heading west. I'll be going to North Dakota for opener. Yes, I know opener is actually this weekend, but my boy Colt, he turns 1 on Sunday. And I do not think that Whitney would be real ecstatic with me if I were to miss our son's first birthday. So, and I don't want to miss his first birthday. So I'll be here for his birthday on Sunday. And then first thing on Monday morning, we'll be heading out to North Dakota for opening week. So super excited about that. I have a number of things planned, for my dogs. I actually have a client out there that is helping us do some scouting that he is going to be hunting his young dog for the first time. So I think hopefully some cool stuff comes out of that. So hopefully next week I'll have some kind of cool, more hunting content. But what I want to do this week is talk about, our inboxes get flooded, this time of year, especially with, training or early season hunting questions. And first off, I love that you guys do that. I love that you send in those messages. A lot of times, and I really appreciate you guys are so respectful with, you start off with, hey, hey, I know you're super busy, but if you could just, help me out with this real quick. I mean, I appreciate you being, respectful, appreciate you understanding my time, but at the same time, I love to help people. I mean, I genuinely love, to help people out. Send them, if you guys are going to do this, you definitely can send them to my Riverstone Kennels page, but try to send them to my personal, Josh Miller Instagram page. If you can find that on the Riverstone Kennels page, just because it's easier for me to keep track of. We get so many messages on the Riverstone page that my personal page doesn't. And, so it's just easier for me to organize it. I wish social had a better way of organizing, these questions or messages in general, unreading them, organizing them like you could in email, but unfortunately, they don't, at least not to the level that would help me stay organized. So, if you could, send them to my personal page. I'll still get them on the kennel page, but it's just easier for me to send, get them there because I can go back and look at them before I sit down and do an episode like this. But of the questions that are coming in, there's a few that I'm noticing are very trendy and they are very consistent. And so what I wanted to do is I have 3 here that I want to talk about. And these 3, it seems like, have been very consistent as far as, people asking almost identical questions. So I want to dig into these. So the first one is, and we've talked about some of these before, but again, I want to dig into them just because they've been questions. I received 3 phone calls this week. This is not an uncommon phone call, but it's a little comical. When I say comical, I'm not saying like, haha, making fun of these people. I'm saying, haha, laughing with you as far as like, it's word for word. I mean, it's word for word, the same phone call. And, it's silly how similar it is. So the phone call goes like this. Yeah. Hey, Josh, I have a training question for you. Don't know if you can help me out with. Yes, sure. What's going on? I have a fantastic dog. He is great. He is awesome. He is driven. He does everything I need to him. He is the best dog that I have ever had. But he whines in the blind. It's word for word. It's like when you hear it coming, like when they're talking about, how awesome their dog is and all the things they do great and how they're the best dog they've ever had, all this stuff, like, the bud is coming and you know what is coming next. It's really eerie almost how similar these are. So let's talk about it, because if you've listened to me in the past and if you heard me talk about this, like, I do firmly believe that whining and vocalization is a genetic trait. When you see dogs that are out of lines that are noisy, those puppies tend to be noisy, right? That's why I put such an emphasis on my breeding program to not be breeding dogs that are whiny, that are barky, that are anxious like that, because there is nothing more frustrating to me than sitting in a blind with a dog that is whining or being vocal. Not only does it ruin the hunt as far as it can flare birds, and I think I've told the story, about Arkansas a few years ago. It flares birds, it ruins the hunt that way. But I'm big into, as you guys know, the process. I'm big into the journey. I'm big in the moment, right? So when I'm out and I'm watching a sunrise and I am taking that deep breath of, this is where I've been wanting to be, and I want to enjoy this moment, the last thing I want to hear is, shh, quiet, let alone for 4 hours. I mean, that is the fastest way to ruin a hunt. The second fastest way would be to have a dog breaking. But fastest way for me to ruin a hunt is having a whiny dog. And that's why I'm so picky about it. That's why I'm preach doing your homework before you get a puppy. Because I have a gentleman in the the kennel right now that his puppy is very noisy, very whiny, very barky. He loves this puppy, right? And she's a cute, fun little puppy. Like, she is a nice little puppy. But that is something we're likely not going to break. And so what I'm going to talk to you guys about here is what we can do to try to put a Band-Aid on this and try to minimize this, right? And the best way of doing this would be to start working on the patience side of things. Start working on making the dog sit there. You throw retrieves. They don't get it. You walk and go pick it up. Sit there and watch another dog, honor the other dog work, watch the other dog work. Do whatever you can do to make them realize that they don't go get every retrieve. Now, I understand that with some dogs, this is going to make them even louder. But it's about the only shot that you got, because you can't put a bark collar on them, because the bark collars will not pick up a whine. If they're barking, they'll pick it up. But those bark collars are designed to look for the vocal cord rhythms of a bark to make a correction. So you're not going to be able to put a bark collar on the dog, okay? Unless they're crazy loud, maybe. But that's likely not going to work. I don't believe it's something that you can sit there and make a correction for. And the reason I say that is because I truly believe most dogs don't even realize what they're doing when they're whining. And to make a correction, the dog also has to understand what he's being corrected for. If he doesn't understand what he's being corrected for, how can he correct it and make it right? Whining is, I totally get how frustrating it is. And if you're in the situation where you're like, hey, I've got a young dog, this is a commitment, this dog is a part of my family, we're going to be having this dog for the next 12 to 15 years, what can I do? That's the best advice I can give you on that one, is just work on the patience side of things. Work on sitting and being calm, being patient, okay? And now, let me kind of back up one step and say, I know there's probably somebody out there going, well, I've fixed, whining. Well, I have a buddy that we were able to get through. We were able to make corrections, and that's great. That's great. We have as well. We have had dogs that we have been able to be successful with. But that's not saying that, certainly not saying that you're going to be successful across the board with every dog doing it. When I talk about training, I talk about you're going to go be successful with most dogs by doing this. You are not going to be successful with most dogs correcting whining. Just the reality of it. I have a good friend of mine that we'd give seminars oftentimes together, and he always had kind of a line that I thought was funny, which was, he'd always say, someone would ask this question, because it comes up all the time, how do you fix whining? He's like, I can fix that for $40. And people would perk up and be like, oh, wow, this is going to be, the ticket, right? And he'd say, go to Cabela's, pick yourself up a pair of earmuffs. That's how you fix it, because you're not going to fix it, right? Now, I think that's extreme, but I think that's blunt, what the situation is. What you're going to need to do, go back to being patient, do refusals, do honoring, and you may, for me, if you have caught this early, if this is a first hunt, second hunt thing, don't put your dog back in the situation to make this a habit. Go work on this until you feel very, very good about that you think that it is that you have helped get over the problem. If you go make this a habit, you will never get out of it. Now, there was someone else that had talked about this and actually went through that same advice and said, Josh, I think he's way better. He got worse for a little bit and then came around and now he's better. He's not whining at all. How do I go implement him back in the hunt? And what I would say is, don't stick him right in the middle of the trenches, right? Maybe you sit back 50, 60 yards from everybody to where you can still see, to where you're still getting the exposure, but hopefully by being removed from the action a little bit, it can keep him calmed down. Obviously you don't get to shoot. It is what it is. Little tips here to try to help with that. But if you are in a puppy search, make this a point of emphasis. Talk to your breeders about it. Make sure that this is something that they are focusing on. It is a huge deal because there's a lot of things you can train into a dog. There's a lot of things you can train out of a dog. But there are some things that are just who they are. That's what we're looking for for me as a breeder. Okay. So, whining. I'm sorry if that's blunt, but it's just the truth. It's just, it's unfortunate, but it's the truth. Number 2, geese, honkers, big Canadas, right? This is a bird that a lot of dogs struggle with, and this isn't even technically just young dogs. This isn't technically small dogs, okay? Some dogs just struggle with geese, and it's something that I know a lot of people get frustrated with because you can't train with geese. Like, you can train with bigger bumpers, you can train with bumpers that are actually meant to mock geese, but it is not the same. When you get that big bird that has those big wings, that dead weight, flops all over the place, and it's hard for them to figure out how to carry. It's hard to figure out how to pick it up. It is a confidence thing for most dogs. I trained a dog years ago. This was probably like 8-9 years ago now. Her name was Kimber. Kimber was a bad ass. I mean, she was the real deal. She was one of 2 dogs. I'll tell you a quick story. One of 2 dogs that she tried to kill me. In my career, I've had 2 dogs try to kill me. She's been one of them. Okay. I'll tell you the story quick, and then I'll get back to the goose thing. So this was at my first kennel facility. We had 6 kennel runs. We were basically begging, people to bring us dogs, so we could pay our bills and not lose our house. And Kimber came in, and Kimber's owner has since become a great friend of mine. Actually, has gone on to be a great dog trainer. He's a professional trainer. He's done a great job. But at the time, it wasn't his profession, and sent Kimber in. And he told me right off the bat. He said she is extremely possessive about her food. Okay, so her and I did a little work off the first couple of days. We were great. No issues. Now, Kimber was also right around that 100-pound mark. She might have been a little over that. I mean, she was a brick house. I mean, solid, big, bulky head. Like, she was a Chessie, right? Beautiful dog. Cover of DU. She's done. I mean, she's just gorgeous. But probably fast forward from her coming in probably a month and a half. So it was a long time because I had just gotten used to her. She knows me. I know her. We had our little talk. We have no issues around food. Everything's great. So we're in feeding, one day. When I say we, Whitney and I, because Whitney was the only help that I had, back then. And we're going in and, feeding the dogs, and all the dogs are done. I'm just in my own little world, which was my first mistake. But I was in my own little world, going in, picking up dishes, and I go into Kimber's run, pick up her dish, and I just catch her out of the corner of my eye from the back of the kennel run because she was laying on her bed. And I catch her coming at me, and I look up. I mean, she lunges at me. And I mean, just like, like popping jaws, I mean, she's trying to eat me. I caught her, but awkwardly because I wasn't expecting it. So I have her around the neck, but I'm trying to get a hold of her. She is losing her mind. She looks possessed. Like, her eyes are bugging out. I mean, she is. So I grabbed her, and I'm trying to fumble, and I'm trying to get a hold of her. And the only thing that I could do to make it to where I kept control was I pinned her against, I pushed her against the kennel wall. Okay, and I'm trying to get a hold of the whole time, just pop, 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 and her feet are just scratching the heck out of my chest, and she's going nutty. Well, finally got good enough of a hold, but again, she's losing her mind. So I was able to get a hold of her, but as I did, we kind of went to the ground, and so I was up on top of her, and I'm just trying to hold her with every ounce of me to keep her under control. As I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to get out of this, and as I was doing that, my adrenaline was really going, and I was squeezing her pretty hard to the point that she's like, and she's starting to settle down. Okay. And I felt her body loosen, go from a full tense to loosen. And when she did that, I let go. She got up on her bed. She, walked back to the back of her kennel, sat on her bed, looked the other way. She knew that she had done wrong. So I control myself, and my adrenaline is going like crazy, and I'm shaking. I had a white t-shirt on, which was solid red. She just tore my chest up. And I came out. I will never forget the look on Whitney's face when I came out of that kennel run. I mean, she was ghost white, eyes were big, and the first thing she said was, "I want nothing to do with that dog." And I was like, well, after that, I want you to have nothing, to do with that dog. But it was, I mean, that was her. I mean, she was big. She was a bully in her early years. I think, she definitely mellowed out. But I remember sitting there, TJ had become a friend, and I'm sitting there going, how am I going to tell him that this happened? Like, and I just I kind of go around, and, finally I'm just like, I just got to do it. Right. So call him thinking this is going to be a frustrating phone call, just because, people can get very emotional about their dogs, right? Like there's no way that my dog would have done that. There's, my dog's not like this, or what did you do? All these things. And you're just thinking, great. How is this going to go? And I'll never forget. So this was the moment that I understood, like, Chessie owners are oftentimes just geared a little different. So call him, like, TJ, got something to tell you, went through the whole thing. And TJ's response was, well, good grief, man, take a 2x4 in there and smack her over the head next time, straighten her out. And I'm like, no lab owner would ever tell me to do that. And so anyways, a little background on Kimber. Now, Kimber went on to be a great dog. I really liked working with her. She was very focused. She was very under control. She went on to be a master hunter, hunting retriever champion. She ran the Grand. Just like all these things. She was the real deal. But where I'm going with this is geese. So here's a big bad dog. Physically, absolutely can do it. Mentally, absolutely can do it. She wasn't confident with it. She was 5 years old before she picked up a honker. 5. So the reason I'm telling you that story is that, it's not like, there's all these things I hear about, right? Like, I don't know if she's going to be big enough to pick up a goose. Well, Sage, my Sage, I think she's right around 40 pounds, maybe 38. She's tiny. She's probably the best goose dog that I have. When we hit a big group of geese and we have cripples in the decoys, Sage is sitting there on her toenails, and I have every one of my friends will be, wait. And they're all getting out their phones, and they're like, want to videotape, because she turns into the baddest middle linebacker that you've ever seen. And she hits that thing going 100 miles an hour. They do the spin. She'll pick this thing up, and this thing is as big as her. And she is confident in bringing that thing back. So it's not the size. Again, Kimber's 100 pounds, has 60 pounds on Sage. Sage was doing it right away. Kimber took till she was 5. Okay, it's a confidence thing. Think about if you're used to, picking up bumpers, picking up dummies, picking up ducks, picking up pigeons, and all of a sudden you have this pterodactyl laying out there, and you're like, I'm supposed to do what with this? And the first thing you do is you pick it up, and it's it's heavy, and it doesn't feel right, and and there's dogs can get frustrated. The absolute worst thing that you can do is send a dog out there when there's cripples out there so they get smacked around. Now that's the best way to turn your dog off. There's a difference between not being confident in picking it up and being fearful of it. If we get fearful of it, we got an issue. The confidence we can work on. So the best way that I have found, again, I'm always speaking generally here because I'm trying to reach the mass, okay? The best way that I have found to build a dog's confidence retrieving big geese is do it in the water. So take a dead bird, go to the water somewhere, throw that thing out there, send them on a water retrieve. Again, we're trying to build confidence. So as your dog gets out to this bird in the water, now he doesn't have to pick it up. He's going to grab it and he's going to push it back as he swims, right? Well, with every stroke, he's building his confidence that he can do it. Now, he may not get to shore and pick it right up, right? But you do this a few times, and he's starting to go, I got this. And sure enough, one time he'll surprise himself, and he'll carry it out of the water and bring it right to you. Now you've built his confidence that he can do this. Now you can go apply it in the field. Build his confidence in a controlled setting. Give him the repetition. Get him thinking he can do it, and then go do it on the hunt. But do not let a big honker be the first bird that your young dog encounters in the field. I mean, a lot of what the messages we're getting, because we're talking about, we're still in September. Actually, we're not. I think today's October 1st. But let's just, for argument's sake, say we're still in September. Early season. It's a lot of geese, at least in the north here. It's a lot of big geese. and you get those early seasons. I understand it's the first thing that we get to do, other than doves, which we have none of, but that doesn't mean that it should be the first hunt. It's all about success. It's all about building that confidence. So make sure they are successful. So the third thing I want to talk about here today, and this is an interesting trend that I've seen as far as questions go. The whining is an every year thing. The geese is an every year thing. This isn't, which is interesting to me. And what I think this is telling me is that more people are working with their dogs instead of sending them out, which I think is awesome. Sometimes people get sheepish with me on that, and they're like, I kind of think I might want to do some of the training myself, thinking that I'm going to be uppity about it because this is what I do for a profession. I love when people train their own dogs. Love, love, love it. I think there's so much appreciation that comes from going through the ebbs and flows yourself. Then you don't show up at the lot and pick up your new fancy car and drive it away. You see the building process, right? There's more pride into it. I love all that. But this is an interesting one, which is there seems to be a lot of concern with young dog focus. Okay, now sometimes over Instagram messages, it's hard for me to understand maybe what is meant by that. But what I'm gathering from what I'm reading is that there's a frustration that young dogs are not staying focused enough to have extended training sessions. Now, define young dog. That's always my first question, right? Is young 2? Is it 2 months, right? Is it what is young? And the more common ages that I've seen has been 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, right in that stage. So I think what we need to do is we need to take a step back. We need to pump the brakes a little bit. You are working with, for the best analogy I can come up with, you are working with a preschooler, right? The attention span isn't there. Like I said, my son turns 1 on Sunday. He has the attention span of a gnat, I feel like, half the time, right? I don't expect any more of him, right? And it's easy for us to do that when we're talking about people, right? Oh, he's 1. Oh, he's 3. Oh, he's 5. Oh, he's young. You can't expect too much out of him. But it's amazing how we'll switch that when we go to dogs. And we'll be like, well, why is this not working? I know, especially as we go into season, it's tempting to go too fast. I know that watching, and this is why I've been so critical on people that are out there doing Instagram stories and all these videos and stuff, that everything goes right and look at how awesome this is, because that is not reality. Okay, and I promise you, some of that stuff is even just set up for social. It's amazing how many times I watch somebody line a dog up, and they're like, oh, let's watch them run this blind, and you can see that dog knows what that is. I mean, I can anyway. I'm just going, oh my gosh, but there's a false perception out there that this is easy. It should go fast. It should, we should be able to click, click, click. So understanding that every dog is different is a huge deal. And I can say every dog is different in a litter. Every dog is going to be different. But there's so much that goes into, especially young dog, and breeding is a huge part of it. So breeding wise, what do you naturally have? Okay. Some dogs are slow matures. What I will say, I love Brock. You guys all know that. Brock's puppies have matured a little slower. That doesn't make them any worse. They turn out to be rock stars. But I need to place those puppies with people that are understanding the process, that aren't going to expect too much too soon. Because as they weather the storm and they get through the other end of it, they've got the dog of a lifetime. But some people can't be patient during that time, that growing pain, right? If we're talking about 3 and 4 and 5 month old puppies, these are puppies. I would not be concerned with them not staying focused at this age. I would not be concerned with doing extended train periods. What I'd be concerned about is socializing. That has been the big one. I cannot tell you, since COVID, and we are still seeing it today, how poor of a job we have seen dogs come in that have been socialized. It is incredible. It was like a wall. Like when COVID hit, boom, people went from bringing their dog to the hardware store, bringing them to family outings, bringing them to t-ball games, these puppies had more human interaction in a week than what they're getting in the first year of their life now. Night and day different. That's a lifelong thing. You don't get those young months back. You don't get that growing up back. You need to capture that now. And so as I look at it and I go, young dog, focus. Like let's focus on ourselves. Okay, socializing, maybe a little bit of treat training, maybe some basic sits and comes. Right? You guys know my feeling. Like I'm not big on retrieving with a young dog. Like if you've done your homework, you have purchased a retriever. Don't develop bad habits at this age. Right? You might do a retrieve here and there, right? But don't overdo this. Don't, I hate hearing that, this puppy will retrieve till my arm falls off. Well, don't get to that point because then we're going to have stuff we have to fix, right? But focus, like that's a maturity thing for most dogs. There's, now if we're talking about a 2-year-old dog that is having a focus issue, that might be who that dog is. And that's, I understand, sometimes a hard reality to grasp of this might not be the dog that I was hoping it would be, but that's the truth. Is that if you're getting to these older ages and your dog has a hard time focusing, it might just be who they are. Again, we're so accepting of this with people. Yeah. Oh, my son's just not the athlete I was hoping that he would be. Oh, my son's just not the student that I was hoping he would be. Oh, my son's not, doesn't make common sense decisions. Well, maybe, okay, that's a bad one because that might be parenting. But there's so many things we're so accepting of with people that we just don't transfer, to the dog side of it. Dogs are animals. They have makeups. They have strengths and weaknesses. They have intelligence levels. They have ability levels. They have so much that sometimes we overlook. 3, 4 months old. I mean, let's focus on letting that puppy grow up, build that confidence, socialize, build their confidence, do your crate training, do your basic treat training. Don't be worried about doing a 5 to 10 minute session. That will come. Go at the pace, enjoy the process, right? Enjoy the process. You'll be just fine. You have especially if we're talking about right now, you should not be thinking about trying to hunt that dog this year. So, take your time. You've got a whole year. Take your time. I'm not saying don't train. I'm saying take what your puppy's giving you. If it is 30 seconds, do a 30-second session, and you build on that. Okay? You're dealing with the preschooler. Treat them as such. Build from there. Okay? Well, the sun is coming up. I have to get to work because we have more dogs going home here today. And I have to get ready for next week as we go to North Dakota. I have to get ready for Sunday as I get to celebrate my boy's first full year on this earth. It'll be a fun weekend. So, and maybe, just maybe, I can try to catch a muskie this weekend too. So we'll see how that goes. So I hope you guys have an awesome weekend. I will talk with you next week. I will give you the report from North Dakota. Everybody have a great weekend, and we will talk to you next week.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Leave us a review on iTunes, and a special thank you to DUK because without them, we couldn't do what we do here, bringing this information to you.